Sweet and cozy night, and you are here by my side. Bells are ringing and the time is right to celebrate this Christmas. We're gonna have some fun. Merry Christmas to everyone. So everybody gather round and sing with me. Yeah, it's Christmas. Joyful Christmas. Shine so bright. We share this very special night. Close your eyes, make all your dreams come true. Oh, what a joyful Christmas. We're gonna have some fun. Merry Christmas to everyone. Now everybody gather round and sing with me. Well, it's Christmas, very joyful Christmas. Hang up Christmas lights. Let's celebrate tonight. If you feel alone, don't hide.
What's up, Lowndes County? Welcome to our weekly celebration of the Lowndes community. Whether you're a Viking, well, I guess it's just whether you're a Viking. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. In the very festive mood tonight, whether you're a Viking, Wildcat, Valiant, General, Trojan, or Rebel, I guess I think I got it all. This season is for all of us as we celebrate the birth of Jesus. So Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to the Viking Nation Live. I'm your host, Larry Godwin. We're going to have some super fans on a little bit later tonight. They're running a little bit behind schedule because they're out scouting, not scouting, but they're out attending middle school basketball games. So hopefully they'll be joining us pretty soon. And if you would like to join tonight's program, go ahead and put these numbers into your phone, 229-469-1205. And you can join us tonight. We're in a mellow mood tonight. It's getting really, really close to Christmas. We're getting to in the short rows of having the last couple of shows for the year. You can tell everybody's out enjoying their Christmas parties, their holiday parties, whatever you want to call it, out Christmas shopping. Man, everybody is doing something. It's a busy time of year. But regardless, we're going to soldier on and we're going to finish this year strong. So before we get going, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors who's been with us the entire year. So I don't want to let those guys down. First of all, Pepsi of Valdosta, distributors of Pepsi, Mountain Dew Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy, and Mountain Dew Spark. Thank you so much to Doyer Deloach and the guys out there at Pepsi of Valdosta. Thank you so much to Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment. I know it's coming up on the end of the year, but you always need sound financial advice. One of the best in the business is Kyle Conger, in my opinion, anyway. He's got a company called White Oak Investment. You can reach out to him at 229-850-8848. Thank you so much to longtime friend of the show, Tim Neesmith. He's got a company called A Shade of Perfection where he customizes shades and blinds to your specifications to make your I guess to make your company beautiful, your house beautiful, whatever you need done, Tim Neesmith can get it done for you at a shade of perfection, 229-251-3479, or on his website at shadeofperfection.com. We thank these guys, the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. They are your certified headache medicine specialists. These two guys are Josh Batson, Justin Haskin. They offer a variety of migraine and back pain treatments. Thank you to Chandler Kulik, who continues to keep our pools beautiful. Even though we can't jump in it, we still want it to look nice when we go out there and enjoy the view. He's got a company called Aqua Works Pool Company, where the dude just does great work. That's just the bottom line. And that's what you want in your pool guy, right? So if you need a pool guy, Chandler Kudik fits the bill. You can reach him at 229-415-0752. And we want to thank Tony Green and Trey Hatcher with Imperial Auto Sales. If you've got an automotive need, just give these guys a call. They've got two great locations to help you out. One at 1410 North Ashley Street over by the mall, and the other is 1600 Bay Tree Road. So give these guys a call, Tony Green, Trey Hatcher at Imperial Auto Sales, or you can reach them on their website, imperialautosales.com. And then finally, Jason Castleberry with Case Tree Services. He specializes in tree cutting and removal. If you mention this ad, you can get free stump grinding with any tree removal. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. And I'll be reaching out to them to renew for the upcoming year. But as we soldier right along for tonight's The Viking Nation Live with your host, Larry Godwell, let's go ahead and start off by saying, how about those South Georgia State champs? Listen, there's a lot of people that say the South Georgia can't win state championships anymore, right? But there's three programs that just proved everybody wrong: Coffee County, Pierce County, Thomas County Central. And check it, between these three teams, guys, they had one loss in between all three teams. Coffee County went 15-0. Pierce County went 14-1. And Thomas County Central went 15-0. So you might be saying to yourself, but Larry, these are smaller schools, and that's the case, and it's easier to win state championships. It's never easy to win a state championship. Pierce County is the smallest of these schools at the 2A level. Coffee County is at the 5A level, and Thomas County Central is at the 6A level this year. So you can't convince me that these guys don't play in very difficult classifications. And so they still have to go up against the same Metro Atlanta teams that have players shuffle in and out to create these super teams. So it can be done. And maybe it's time, we don't talk about these teams very often. Thomas County Central, Pierce County, Coffee County, maybe it's time to look at what they're doing and copy them instead of them copying the bigger teams. So they must be doing something right. Two of these teams just won state championships in their head coach's second year with the program. So they definitely got something figured out. I think it would be wise for, us to set aside our pride and look at some of these other teams to see what they're doing. Tim Neesmith said, we should have hired Co a couple years ago. Look at the 5A next year in Region 1. Yeah, it's listen. We had Tim. I don't know if you recall this when Mike Coe originally got hired from Madison County, went up to Coffee County. I had a chance to sit down with him for probably a 30 to 45-minute interview, and I think we did play it on this show, or maybe on our sister show at the time, Pregame Blitz. But we did play that interview with him in its entirety. So I'm going to play a clip a little bit later on in the show of something that Mike Coe said to his community when he was first introduced as the Coffee County head coach. So yeah, went back into the archives, thanks to my buddy Chris Pace, saw this video that he shared of Mike Coe originally. I guess it's his very first press conference, his introduction to the community. So we're going to take a glimpse of what Coach Coe had to say then and see if he lived up to the hype. And I think the results speak for themselves. Kenneth Hurst checking in from Thomasville. He says, TCC, check out your show. So, Kenneth Hurst, I've got something for you as well. Listen, Justin Rogers is doing fantastic work over in Thomasville. He has flipped the script. If you guys recall, a couple years ago, Zach Grage was flying high over there, literally flying high over there at Thomasville High, had that program just smoking red hot. Didn't win the state championship in Grage's last year in Thomasville, but was a state finalist. And so let's be honest, Central fans, the Thomasville Bulldogs basically ruled and ran Thomas County. Fast forward a couple of years. Now Justin Rogers in his second year is dominating not just Thomasville, Thomas County, but is dominating that region, which is a very strong region that includes Lee County, Northside, Houston, and the like. So the guy's got something going on over there. So during this off season, I'm going to be trying to reach out to him just to pick his brain, because I love to talk to proven championship head coaches. You know, in another not side gig, but in another thing that I do, many of you already know this, that along with my buddy Joe Mamone at Prep Gridiron Logistics, we interview some of the best coaches, not some, but the best coaches all across the country at the high school level. And they all basically say the same thing. Now, I'm not talking about the traditional coach speak, but I'm talking about their ability to build a program and focus on community and get complete buy-in and that kind of stuff. And so all these coaches have something in common that we're going to be addressing a little bit later on in the show as well. So let's go ahead and go to the White Oak Investment comment line. Let's see what's on your mind tonight. Again, if you would like to call in and opine, I don't know why I even put the phone number up here, because you guys would rather type in a comment than call in, but I still want to give you the opportunity. If you would like to call in to the program tonight, our number is 229-469-1205. I'll go ahead and leave that up there for a couple of minutes. Again, that's 229-469-1205. Chris Pace over in Coffee County checking in tonight. Good to see you, Chris. Congratulations to the Coffee County Trojans. Or is it just Coffee Trojans? You know, over at Lowndes, it's not the Lowndes County Vikings. It's just the Lowndes Vikings. Is it the same, Chris? Is it the same way over there in Coffee County? So Coach Trainer says these coaches changed their philosophies after their first year at their new jobs. That's an interesting comment. So Trainer, I would look, man, call in if you want to elaborate. So what do you mean? You think they went in with one particular mindset and philosophy, and after that first year, they changed their philosophy? So that's an interesting comment. I hadn't really thought about that. Trainer goes on to say, seen our Lowndes team bully that TCC team that summer. Grage was here. Yeah. Neesmith says, and now the middle schools have not lost a game in 3 years. There you go. Pine Grove is a long way from Lake Park. Armand Rashad is one of our super fans, and he attended one of the middle school games, and he's trying to get back to pop onto the show. So we'll see if he makes it. Neesmith says, ask Chris, what's the deal with Pastor Troy? And I seen Coffee live a couple of weeks ago. Fun to watch. Now, that's a new one on me, Neesmith. So, Timmy, Chris, what's he talking about? What's this Pastor Troy? Is that, I think Valdosta's does some type of, is there fights on Pastor Troy, or they have something to do with the band and they play a tune called Pastor Troy, I think. So maybe that's what Coffee does. I'm not sure. So maybe Chris Pate, maybe you can help us out, clarify some of that stuff. Okay. So let me go ahead and get into one of the topics that I wanted to talk about tonight. One of the things that we do during the football off season is we will pick topics of discussion that may not necessarily directly affect Lowndes at the time, but it affects high school football. So let me go ahead and talk about one of these topics. I was tuning in, like many of you, tuning into the state championship games, and I was really, really interested to watch Thomas County Central against Woodward Academy, right? And so, over the course of this past season, the Thomas County Central fans really started following their team like honestly, like Lowndes used to. So they would travel in mass on the road, even all the way up to Rome. They would travel in mass. They probably had 3,000 to 4,000 fans up in Rome. So one of the things they started doing over the course of the regular season is using these what's it called, a vuvuzela horn? I've got that horn around here somewhere, but I cannot remember where I put it. So anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. And it's not just one or two or 20 or 50, but it sounds like the entire Central fan base has one of these horns, and they make a tremendous amount of noise when you've got a couple thousand people blowing these things. I don't really know if that's how many, but it sounds like that many. And it really disrupts. So if you're a Lowndes guy, and you know how disruptive the Lowndes band is with all that noise, imagine a couple thousand people blowing those horns at the same time, and how disruptive it can be to an opposing offense. So that's what's been happening all throughout the season, and it's really, really helped the Central team out, especially when they're on defense, right? And so fast forward to the playoffs, and so the Central fans kept getting better and better and better at blowing these horns the entire game. So if you ever watched one of their games during the playoffs and you hear this in the background over the broadcast, you ask us, what the heck is that annoying sound? Well, it was the horns, and it became quite effective. So then you fast forward to the state championship game. So all throughout the season, they've been blowing these horns outdoors, right? But now you fast forward to the state championship game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and now they've got the roof closed for that game, and now all of a sudden it's an indoor stadium. And this is where some controversy cropped up during the state championship game during Central versus Woodward Academy. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The white hat referee actually got on air on the screen and announced it over the PA system there at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he said in effect that artificial noisemakers, these vuvuzela horns, right? Artificial noisemakers are basically illegal at football games. I can't remember if he said indoor games or outdoor games or whatever. He just basically made the announcement that they're illegal for that state championship game, and the fan base of the offending team is going to be assessed a penalty, right? And so I've been told that the threat was more than just a penalty. It wasn't announced on air, but the threat was basically made to the Thomas County Central team that if their fan base didn't stop the horns during the state championship game, that they were going to be forced to forfeit the game, which was an extreme reaction to the horns. Now, that's what I've been told. I wasn't there. I didn't hear the conversation, but that's what I've been told. So Candace says he didn't specify indoor or outdoor. I didn't think he did, Candace. So during the game, you guys know me. If I'm curious about something, I'm going to reach out to people that should know. So during that game, after that white hat referee made that announcement, I fired off an email to a representative of the GHSA to get some clarification. And he basically said, yeah, they're illegal. And I kind of pushed back, and I replied. I said, wait a minute, I'm looking at the Constitution and bylaws here, and it says they're legal. I don't understand. Please help me understand. And the reply was made that the executive director has the ability to interpret rules, and which he does. And he has determined that those horns, those artificial noisemakers, when used in indoor facilities, is illegal. And so I asked him to show me that in the Constitution and bylaws. And this is what he sent to me. I'm going to show you exactly what he sent to me according to the Constitution and bylaws. So, first of all, one thing I want to show you is uh, I think the GHSA has a problem on their hands. They have vested too much authority into the hands of one person. And I'm not saying anything bad about Robin Hines because this issue predates Robin Hines. This has always been the issue with the GHSA and the Office of Executive Director. Okay. I think that one person, that executive director, has way too much authority, way too much power, because they have the authority to interpret these rules any way they want. And I'm going to actually show you how the executive director interpreted the rules in this particular case incorrectly. But who am I? I don't have the authority to challenge him. No one has the authority to challenge the executive director once he makes a ruling like this. That's a problem. That is a major problem. So if you are a board of trustee member and you're watching this telecast tonight, or someone's going to tell you that I talked about the GHSA and said the executive, go ahead and tell them, because they need to tune in and watch this segment of the show tonight. So I'm going to talk directly to them. You guys have a major problem on your hands. You've vested too much power into one person, especially a state championship game where you basically tell the entire fan base to shut up. That's basically what you told them. Now, it's not that to that extreme, because they're still allowed to cheer as loud as they want, but they couldn't use these horns, which they've been using all year long. So that's problem number one. The state executive director has way too much authority. And I'm showing it to you right there on the screen. This is directly from the GHSA Constitution and bylaw. You can see it right there on the screen. The state executive director shall be authorized to interpret the rules of the Georgia High School Association and to impose the proper penalty for their violation, including but not limited to declaring a student ineligible to compete in activities for a period of time up to 4 years. That's as vague as you could ever get in authorizing one person to have power. I mean, that's basically what this boils down to, right? Okay, so that's issue number one. Issue number two is what I was told and what he interpreted. And I'm going to show you the section on the screen, what he interpreted. Let me go ahead and get this down. So that's his. Okay, so page 35. Page 35 of the Constitution and bylaws says this, and this is what they sent to me. Yes, I admit I'm that guy that likes rules clarification during a state championship game, because the announcement just made absolutely no sense at all. Okay, so let me highlight what I'm talking about here so you can clearly see it on the screen. Okay. Here it is, right in the middle of your screen. It's green and then yellow, right? So this is the section that was sent to me. Artificial noisemakers are allowed at outdoor events with the exception of air horns, whistles, or other similar devices that simulate the sounds of clock horns or officials' whistles. At any time that a national playing rule prohibits artificial noisemakers in a sport, that rule will supersede this bylaw. Do you see? Okay, so there's two things to notice in this bylaw. One is when they're allowed. It says artificial noisemakers are allowed at outdoor events, with the exception of air horns and whistles. It's pretty cut and dry, right? So when are artificial noisemakers allowed? They're allowed at outdoor events. When are they not allowed? Well, this particular bylaw does not say. All it says is when they are allowed, but it doesn't say when they're not allowed. So this particular bylaw, because it was vaguely written, the executive director took it upon himself to say that since it clearly says they're allowed at outdoor, it must mean that they're not allowed at indoor events. Anybody seeing a problem with that interpretation? Oh, Candace says, can't hear you. So, can you guys hear me? So I'm, or it's just Candace is the only one that can't hear me. All right. I, okay. So Candace says, never mind. It was on her. Okay. Thank you, Candace, for that clarification. So this is where we have the issue, and this is where I was having a major problem, because you had an entire fan base that was told that they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do what they'd been allowed to do all year long based on a faulty interpretation of the bylaw that no one else can challenge. I refer back to issue number 1 that I stated. Too much authority into one person's hands. When they make a determination like this, no one challenges them. No one is allowed to challenge them. And, and for a community to travel, you talking about several thousand people to travel all the way to Mercedes-Benz, all the way to Atlanta, to celebrate and root for their team. That's been a major, and here they are being told that they can't do that anymore. So that was a major problem that I had. Then I replied to this GHSA representative that, listen, the GHSA, the bylaws clearly has a rule that covers this. And I'm going to show you in plain black and white English. So this is found in the football section of the rules. And I'm picking on this particular section because there are other sections like in basketball and volleyball where it clearly says artificial noise makers cannot be used because it's an indoor facility. But those apply to other sports because they clearly say that in the bylaws. So my argument to the representative was these bylaws for football need to be cleaned up. If you're going to rely on rules, then they have to be clear. And you can't be making stuff up as you go. And in my opinion, the executive director just made something up because that's what he wanted to do. That's how he interpreted this rule. Okay, so here it is. This is the football section. And you see it right there, section G. The following regulations are in place for GHSA football games. Doesn't say outdoor games, doesn't say indoor games. It just says football games. Here is subsection. So G2, artificial noisemakers, except air horns and whistles, are what? Are legal at football games. And then it says illegal noisemakers, like what are the illegal noisemakers? Air horns, whistles. Those illegal noisemakers are to be confiscated when visible and or used. So that's the deal. That's the deal. So Candace makes ask a very good question. And why didn't they make this known prior to? Candace, I was told that the Thomas County administration was told beforehand, a week prior, because the coaches and the administration traveled up to Atlanta to basically have a pre-state championship game conference, that kind of stuff. And I was told that the GHSA did make the Thomas County Central Administration aware of this, their ruling, their interpretation. So you bring up a good point. So apparently they did know in advance. The fans may not have known. I don't know if the administration shared it with them or not. I don't know. But still, it's a faulty ruling. It's a faulty interpretation because I've clearly demonstrated in their own constitution and bylaws that this was legal. And the executive director was completely wrong in his interpretation. Okay. Okay. So that's the deal with the noisemakers and the air horns. But you know what? To Central's credit, to their fan base's credit, they did not allow that incorrect interpretation to stop them from supporting their team as loud as they possibly could. And if you watch the broadcast, you could clearly hear the Central fan base in the background. They were crazy loud. Let's see. Trainer says, there's the lounge rule under part. That's funny, right? Yeah. You're talking about the what Trainer is talking about is the lounge ban rule, right? Right there, where it says G3A, bans are not to play during live ball situations. Section A, if during a football game a team claims interference with communications due to band noise, the referee shall give a warning to one or both head coaches, and the bands must cease play. So yes, that is the Lowndes Georgia Bridgman rule. Okay, so anyway, that's that. Okay, so regardless of the rule interpretation, that kind of stuff, congratulations anyway to the Thomas County Central Yellow Jackets, the Coffee Trojans, and the Pierce County Bears. Fantastic showing from all three. Now, probably the most entertaining game was probably the Pierce County game. Now, where I think that went a triple overtime, right? Man, oh man, it's crazy stuff. Y'all are chiming in. You're pretty lively tonight. David Griffith says those rules are those rules are to govern for people that don't have enough money to stand up to change those rules. Yeah, Chris Pace confirms that 3 overtimes. All right, so Sean Price says, I'm happy TCC and Coffee won. Absolutely. Kendrick Wadley says, the executive director definitely has too much power. No one person should ever have that much power. I agree. And we saw that power being demonstrated in the Cook County situation late in the year. Remember that? Where he ruled that the player that transferred up to Cook County was ineligible. Now, it took a court of law to put that on hold. And in my opinion, because that court of law took the action that they did, it basically forced the GHSA's hand to reverse the executive director's decision. So anyway, I was happy that Cook County did that. One of the reasons I was happy is that there was a former Lowndes player that had transferred up to Cook for whatever reason. I don't blame players nowadays if they feel the need to transfer. So he transferred up to a smaller school in Cook County, was just enjoying his senior year, and so playing for Byron Slack. So, in my opinion, we had a vested interest in it. That's what piqued my curiosity about that whole case to begin with. Okay, so let's talk about Coach Coe and in particular Coach Coe and Coach Rogers, because I want to make a point tonight, because I've talked to Coach Coe before. I haven't had the pleasure to talk to Justin Rogers, but I've heard about him. I've heard some speeches that he's done. I heard him the other night after they won the state championship, and they're on the podium or the stage, during the trophy presentation. And as soon as he said what he said, my ears peaked with curiosity. So I actually took my remote and rewound it to make sure I heard what I heard. And what that man said sounded very, very, very familiar, that you've heard on this program many, many, many times. And we're actually going to play that for you. So first of all, I want to play a clip of what Mike Coe said when he was first introduced as the Coffee County head coach. So check this out.
We're going to be out everywhere, loving on this community. You're going to see us in this community. You're going to see us with everybody in this community doing things that this community can be proud of and this county can be proud of. Not just football, because I believe if you do those things, the football will come. The wins will come. If you build it, if you don't worry about the results and you worry more about the process of who you're building and what you're building, the results will come. Don't look at the scoreboard. Just focus on the process. Day by day, pushing yourself, and that goes for the community too. You're going to get tired of seeing me. We're going to, I'm telling you, we're coming. We're coming. And like I told them during the interview, and I'm not going to mention the other schools' names, coffee. When they talk about the best football programs in the state of Georgia, coffee. They're going to say the name coffee.
The man said when they talk about high school football, they're going to say the name coffee. Chris Pace, what kind of chills does that make running up and down your spine? The man said what he said 2 years ago when he was introduced, and he lived up to the hype in 2 years. And I'm sure he had his doubters. I'm sure he did. I wasn't one of them, but I'm sure he had his doubters. And last year, they had a pretty good year. Wasn't a great year, but they had a really good year. And this year, they had an excellent year. 15-0 and state champs. What did the man emphasize over and over and over again? He emphasized the word community. How many times have you heard that on this show? In these small towns, yeah, the football team is made up of players and it's made up of coaches. And there are some that think that that's it. And those teams usually reside in the metro Atlanta area. Okay, because the fan support and the community support isn't really that strong outside of the immediate school family, if you will. But that's not the case down here. If you take a look at Osceola. That town is all in for the Indians. Take a look at Fitzgerald. That town is all in for the Purple Hurricane. And yes, if you're a Fitzgerald fan, I said it correctly. The Purple Hurricane, not Hurricanes. Candace, I agree with you. The man said, don't worry about the scoreboard. Look at the progress. Look at the process. And if you got to make sure your process is correct, right? You got to trust in that process. So Neesmith says, man, Coffee had more fans at the game against Cartersville than the home team did. I believe it, Tim. I do. So my point with showing you that clip with Mike Coe was not just to emphasize that he's obviously a great coach. He's won how many state championships down in Madison, Florida. And they said the knock on Mike Coe was, he's won a number of state championships, but it was a smaller school in Madison. By the way, the same knock was said about Randy McPherson when he was hired at Lowndes. Came from Madison County, small school. But you guys know, if you're from around here, you know that Madison ain't afraid to play anybody. They played Colquitt County. They've played Fitzgerald. They don't care who they play. They'll play anybody. So the Cowboys down there, they cowboy up. So when he came to this community, I mean, he did have some naysayers, but I just played the video clip. He said what he said, and he focused so much in the beginning on community because he knew that it was important for that community to buy in. Listen, if you're a rural community and you've got a football team, it does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that, listen, you could win your region. You could be a second seed or a third seed, whatever. But eventually, the state championship is going to run through literally the metro Atlanta teams. And we all know by now, we know that, and we've complained about it many, many times, that the transfer rules just aren't stringent enough. I have a couple of different solutions. So the GHSA, if you actually want a solution that will work with the transfer situation, call me. We'll implement it in a couple of weeks, and instantly it will work. So that's the issue, right? So Coe comes into Douglas, and he knows. Let me go ahead. Amron, how are you, buddy?
Hey, man, Pine Grove is a long way from Lake Park. Let me just say.
Yes, it is. And that's why we need a second high school, because this county is a big county. So that's another topic for another day. But So I was making, Armand, before you got on, I was making my point about Mike Coe when he first got there up to Douglas, and he knows, coming from a small community like Madison County, Florida, coming up to Douglas, and it's pretty good sized high school, but it's still a pretty small community, right? And
Yep.
so one thing that these championship coaches figure out down here is they can't do it by themselves, because it's going to take resources, not just money, but it's going to take warm bodies to get up and be at the stadiums at 4:30 and 5:30 Monday through Friday to cook the breakfast, to feed the kids. It's going to take a lot of warm bodies to do the money fundraising, right? It's going to take a lot of warm bodies to buy the tickets every stinking Friday night, to be as loud as possible. And it's going to take warm bodies to go out there to the community to get the businesses to buy in. Everybody has got to be rowing in the same direction. That's what these championship coaches have figured out in these smaller communities, whether it's Jeff Herron, whether it's Tucker Pruitt, now Mike Coe, Ryan Herron over in Blackshear and Pierce County. Justin Rogers has got it figured out over there in Thomas County. So community is a major, major deal with all these. So, hey, I'm gonna get your take on it, but before you do, I'm gonna go ahead and play Justin Rogers' acceptance, not speech, but his comments during the trophy presentation. And before I play this video clip, this is a video clip from the GPB broadcast, and I'm using it under the fair use regulations that allow us to use this video clip for educational purposes under fair use. Okay, so check this out.
We are pleased and honored to present you with this state championship trophy. All right. Coach, it's just been a couple of short years to get you back to this point. What has it meant for your community, your school, and the work that these guys have put into this program?
Well, the biggest thing is, first and foremost, thank you to good Lord. I mean, he has blessed this program. He has blessed us so much. He's so good to us. So thank you for him. Next, it's everybody. It's the community. It's the administration. It's the coaches. It's the players. It ain't one thing. It's like a good gumbo, baby. It's everything that goes into it. And we're just so thankful.
It's like a good gumbo, Armand. You like gumbo, Armand?
Everybody should love gumbo. I love gumbo, man.
He was making an outstanding point. And where have you heard those 4 bullet points that he cited? Specifically, he cited it takes an administration that supports the program, it takes good coaching, it takes good players, and it takes community support. Where have you heard that 4 pillars theory on this show? And it's great to hear. It's great to hear these coaches around this area are watching our program.
I think we all echo that sentiment. Everybody who knows, about it, and because I was blessed enough to play for Lions where I didn't have to worry about equipment, didn't have to worry about cleats, didn't have to worry about gloves. That was all provided because of the community supported.
That's right.
The program. We was blessed enough to have people giving back, like Randall Godfrey would send us practice cleats and everything like that. So we were blessed to be there. And just like Coach Rogers said and Coach Coe, is the community. Once the community buys in and they know the vision that the coach has for his team and his players, they buy in and they support them. And it's nothing like being on the road and it still feels like a home game.
Yeah.
So that's like what he said is absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to clear up something. There's a discussion between Billy and I guess some Coffee County fans. Billy, let me go ahead and clear up the Coffee County situation with the student enrollment numbers. That there have been fans for several years now that have claimed that Coffee County is undercounting their student population, and they've claimed for the last several years really, that Coffee should actually belongs in 7A. Instead, they're in 5A. Here's the truth. Coffee County is where they need to be. According to their student population numbers, they do not have 7A numbers. They don't. They do have a ninth grade academy, but that ninth grade academy does count in the student population numbers for Coffee County. How do I know this? Because when the original numbers were published in this last, and I noticed that Coffee's numbers looked a little low. And so I emailed the GHSA and I said, listen, I think you guys are not including the ninth grade academy numbers in Douglas over in the Coffee County total. And I got a reply from the GHSA. And they said, we saw that in the original list. We recognize our mistake. It should have been included. It has been included in the past. So we just mistakenly left that out. And so they corrected it, sent out a new list. So yeah, the ninth grade academy is counted in the Coffee County numbers. What's not counted in the Coffee County numbers is the career academy. And that's a separate school, basically, for those kids that are not going to go to college. They just want to go leave high school, graduate, go into the career. And there's like, I think 200 or 300 students in that school. But here's the deal. From what I understand, they are not allowed to make this where they don't count against the athletic numbers. Those kids are not allowed to take part in Coffee County high school extracurricular activities, whether it's the chess club or the football program, anything. It's basically go to school and go to work. That's it. And so that's how they're allowed to exclude about roughly 200 to 300 kids from the original. But if you add those kids to the high school's population, it's still not enough to get them up to 7A numbers. So I hope that clears that up. So
it also just a quick Google search to let you know that Coffee County has a population about 45,000.
Yeah,
in Coffee County, as opposed to what Lowndes County has, like 180. We're pushing close to 200,000 in Lowndes County, so it's a big difference.
Yeah,
really big difference in population, and so that just I'm with you. At first, I was used to be like, man, why are they dropping down? But when you go back and you look at just the raw population, it's I stand correct. It's 120 for Lowndes, but it's still we have 3 times the population that Coffee County has. So I'm with you. They're right where they need to be at.
Yeah. So I played the clips from those two coaches talking about community involvement, that kind of stuff. So when I talk to community members, that's that they're not public figures at all. And so I travel a lot for my business. I'm in these communities all the time. So while I'm there and I'm not going to a client meeting or whatever, I'll call people up, or maybe I'll talk to someone. If I go out to a local restaurant, I'll start talking to the restaurant owner or something like that. And inevitably, we always start talking about the local football program, because we all love it in this area, right? Whether we talk about it a lot or not, we all love it. And so they always tell me that those communities are completely bought in. And so now you got to figure out, what does that mean? What does it mean for a community to buy in? What it means is, at some point, those coaches, whether it's the head coach or the AD or the assistant coaches, or maybe all of them at one time, at some point in time, they've been pitched, basically, the vision for the football program. And so they want to be a part of that vision. And so that's what it means when a community starts to buy in. But in order for that process to work, the community actually has to know what's going on.
Yeah.
In order to buy something, we've got to be sold something, right?
Yeah, but we've said this before, but also the one thing that when I was riding over here, I was listening and I heard somebody say, year 2, both of these coaches changed their philosophy, right?
That was a curious comment. I'm still waiting for some elaboration, but I noticed that too.
But because I think year one, I think every coach tries to bring in what they know because it's easier to install for them and whatnot. Year two, they kind of expand upon it or throw some things away. So spring for Lions football is going to be one of the most interesting 2-3 weeks of Lions football
Absolutely.
in a long time. So we just have to, unfortunately, we have to sit back and wait until then. And when does spring start? It starts what in April or March? I'm not
It
quite sure.
usually starts at the beginning of May, end of April, beginning of May.
Okay. Yeah. So we got a little while. We
Yeah.
we got a little while, man.
Yeah. Trainer has been on this closed practice all year long. He says, can any TCC and coffee fans answer if their practices are closed to everyone? So, Trainer, honestly, I don't really have a problem with practices being closed, but in my opinion, they shouldn't be closed all the time. So, one of the cool things that as community, because I don't really go when Randy was there, when Jamie was there, when Grage was there, I think all the practices were open, but I didn't make it a point to go to all the practices. I think I can't remember how many years I've been following Lions football. I've probably been to 5 practices. 5, right? Because maybe it was the spring season and I wanted to get a jump on it. I wanted to see what the team had, that kind of stuff. And that's it. But some people really like to go, especially parents of players. You get off of work early, you want to go out there, watch your boy practice. That I don't really know how distracting that is for the player, but some parents really, really like that. But honestly, I don't really have a problem with a coach that closes practices most of the time, as long as they allow some public participation. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, before you just be open, you just go out there and watch it. Now last few years they've been practicing in the stadium. Every time I went in there, I was able to just watch practice. I was even sitting on the sideline talking to Coach Phil Pipolo.
Yeah.
Now I imagine every practice is going to be closed because they have the indoor practice facility.
That's right.
Which protect the players from the elements. So listen, depending on what you do and what you got coming up, that's going to determine whether it's a closed practice. If it's
Sure.
You're working on special teams, yeah, you don't mind if anybody sees that. You're probably not going to work on any trick plays, just your basic special teams. In fact, University of Georgia, they only allow the first 10-15 minutes of practice to media members. Then everybody's
exactly right. And those 15 minutes are basically staged for the media. Yeah. So there's a good debate that's going on, and that represents two. I really shouldn't characterize that as a debate, but there's 2 schools of thought represented in the White Oak Investment comment line. One of them is why does attending practice matter to the public? All right, that's a great question. The flip side of that is Trainer says, I see open practice as a part of getting the community involved. I can see both arguments. I really can. I think there is a compromise, happy in the middle medium there. But I'm not a coach. But that's something that I don't, I'm not going to fall on my sword to die on that hill, right? But I think there's a compromise because some, like it or not, some people really do like to go to those practices. That's their way of feeling connected to the team. And if that's if that's the motivation, then I don't blame, I don't fault those public members at all. Now, we have had some instances in the past where fans of opposing teams have attended our practices, and some people have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it, but some people have a problem with that. So, Chris Pace over in Coffee County says we go all the time. So I can live with either or. I would prefer to have the ability to go. But again, I went 5 times in 20 years, something like that.
But you got to understand. So, like, for instance, Lions, they play on this artificial, this turf, this field turf, right? they're not going to go out there and practice on, and 90% of the places they go and play is on field turf.
Correct.
They're not going to go out there and practice at the old practice field. That's grass.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense. So they move it into the stadium because they didn't have field turf anywhere else but the stadium.
That's right.
Now they have the indoor practice facility. But as far as open and closed practices go, Paul Johnson at Georgia Tech, every practice was open for him. He didn't care. He said, we already know what's coming. Let's see if you can stop it. So from a coach's point of view, I understand it all. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care one way or the other. I do wish that there was a little bit more openness because, if media members want to go out there, they should be allowed to go out there anytime. I want assuming that they are. I count us as part of the media, Armand, so I don't see a problem with us going to practices. But I can see both sides. Candace says, as a parent, I love close practices. Candace, on the flip side, there are other parents that do like. So I think there is a happy compromise that could be had if people want them to have. But I'm not going to live and die on that hill. So anyway, but the overall point is we've got, as Lowndes, as a football program, we've got to figure out a way to get the community more involved other than write me a check. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, David Griffith says maybe the compromise is let the parents go. I'll be all for that. No?
So are all Coach Carter's practice closed? Is just off limits to the public, or?
That's what I've been told. Again, I don't go to practices hardly ever, so I don't really ever go out there and test that. I don't know, but that's what I've been told.
Maybe we gotta get some official media credentials. See what we got to do so we can.
Listen, they recognize you. They recognize it. We're part of the media. So anyway, Kenneth Hurst says he's a Thomas County Central guy. He says their practices are open. So, and most schools do open their practices. So anyway, Candace says either way it won't change. I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
Well, but Coach said something in that thing. He said trust the process, right?
Yeah.
Listen, football isn't complicated. It's real simple. You line up, hit the other guy in the mouth until they quit, and then you win. That's the team that normally wins. It's the same thing. Gotta trust the process. When I look at Lowndes last year, the basic fundamentals seem to be missing: blocking and tackling, and staying on course. So hopefully, year 2 we see some progress, and then it wouldn't matter if I put it like this: if Lowndes is winning, then it doesn't matter if the practices are open and closed. They'll find another way to get the community involved. As long as we're so.
That's right. Hey, we got a couple more minutes left in the show. Remember, guys, during the off season, we're cutting these back to an hour long just because there's less content. And just a reminder, in the upcoming Christmas season, New Year's season, we're only going to have maybe one more show left before I think next Thursday is going to be our last show for the year. And after that's done, we're going to take a break for probably a couple of months. So anyway, let's make these last shows count. So in the last couple minutes of this show, I wanted to remind everybody that if you're a football parent, you're well aware of this, but the football banquet is Monday night. I believe that's the 18th, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the 18th. And the other thing is National Signing Day is coming up as well on December 20th. Lowndes is expected to have 7 to 9 players, 7 to 9 players sign letters of intent. Armand, let me get your opinion quickly on something.
Yeah.
Because of the transfer portal, because of the players leaving for NIL deals, whatever, has National Signing Day lost its luster? Does it really mean that much anymore?
It does.
Okay.
It does. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to sign on National Signing Day. Sign the Army. That was my signing day. But man, for my classmates, I was so proud of them. Even for the people I competed against,
Yeah.
I was proud of them because what they're about to do is going to change their lives. It's going to change their family lives.
Yeah.
Gives them the opportunity to improve. But it has, I won't say it's lost its luster. The transfer portal, what it's done, it's condensed the amount of opportunity that high school athletes have to go play at a big D1 college or whatnot. Because let's face it, those 25 scholarships, while people are transferring out, coaches are looking to fill immediate needs. They always are. And so when they can easily grab some kid out the portal who has experience playing against, D1 competition rather than take a chance on a French player, then, why not? It's like you almost have a proven commodity. Do they always hit? No.
Yeah.
But they don't always hit when they take a kid from high school either. So
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, that's going to end the show for tonight. We'll leave it on that note. We'll pick up the conversation next week. We always have something to talk about around here.
I got one other thing, Larry. One other thing,
man.
since we talk National Signing Day. This goes out to the parents, right? And to the kids, if you're listening. If you get offered to play football, right, in this day and age, find a place where you're going to play. Find a place where they really, really want you and you can see yourself being happy. There is no need to sign to the University of Georgia unless you just always want a degree for the University of Georgia.
That's right.
If you're never going to play, never going to see the field. Georgia Southern ain't that bad, if you're going to be able to play. So that's my message to the upcoming seniors that's about to sign, and to the parents who are trying to help their kids make that decision.
All right. So this final comment, and Candace is making a request to the LG Smooth Talk request line. Here it is. She says, we need more parents, traditionally moms, to help with morning breakfast. We cook, feed them Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 5:30 to 6. We do this all year, all school year. We would love the extra help. And she goes on to say, also the best way to feel a part of the program. So guys, if you're a Lions fan, if you want to get involved, get involved. Nobody's stopping you, right? But I do wish that there was a more of a concerted effort to reach out to the community to get that buy-in. So with that said, guys, we are going to wrap it up. And Armand, the rest of you guys, may God bless every single one of you. And as always, go Vikings.
Go Vikings.